My name is Scott.
I'm Thao.
And we're homeowners! Yeah! I think for both of us, this was our first time just being homeowners in general. So, going through the buying process, obviously we had no idea what we were up against or about to experience. So, in terms of the help that Hans and Danny provided us, yeah, they definitely,
They answered a lot of our questions since we have a lot of anxiety going into this process, or, just getting educated, what should be done or how it should get done. They definitely walked us through every single step of the way.
For both of us, we had no idea what we were getting ourselves into. I think, even in the beginning, we were just trying to boil the ocean in terms of just exploring all sorts of neighborhoods up and down the peninsula. And I think even just trying to align on our expectations as far as what home I wanted versus what she wanted, zeroing down on the home that we really loved and wanted. What was just kind of a crazy experience since out of anything that we've ever done in our lives, this was a really big first step in terms of adulting and not really knowing what to expect. So from that perspective, I think Danny and Hans were just great as far as accommodating our wishes, helping us guide where we needed to, or if we needed to pivot. They certainly gave us that guidance to that process. But it's scary. I think first time home buying is just kind of a crazy experience that you don't really know what to expect until it actually happens. So in terms of why we chose selling Silicon Valley, I think it was a pretty easy choice on our end because Danny and I and Thao were friends to begin with. We've known each other for years. Danny was friends with one of my closest friends, and that's how we got a chance to meet him. And we knew that he was working in real estate, but I think, as we kind of got to a point when we were both ready to dive deep into the real estate buying process, we kind of knew who to call upon to help support and guide us through that process. So I think it was a pretty unique experience, given that I don't think either of us have ever worked with someone that we would call a friend, right? Especially in an agent-client type of scenario. So it was interesting to see how they blended elements of obviously professionalism and helping us guide us through that process, but also being empathetic to us as friends.
We know he's been in business for years, and he grew up in the area, familiar with the area, so he definitely has the expertise. And being our friend, we know that we can trust him. It was no question for us, to pick him as our agent. We did not even consider other agents.
Yeah, and just to add to that, I think working with friends can be a bit of a delicate situation, right? Like there's some sensitivities that you don't want to cross the line as far as being an agent or a client. And I think, both Danny and Hans just did a really fantastic job of not only being our friends in this process, but also being very transparent and straight shooters when they needed to be, right? They didn't necessarily sugarcoat things, especially given how brutal the housing market in the Silicon Valley is. And so I think just that balance of professionalism and transparency with the empathetic side, just kind of, being in the same age group as us and understanding what we're going through, obviously just through the years of work and experience that they've had with other clients, but also in terms of, where they are in their lives as well, right? I think it just was a nice blend across both areas that we could, lean on in terms of support. They did a great job, honestly. As anyone that's especially recently, gone into the house buying process as a buyer, especially in the Silicon Valley, knows how brutal it can be, honestly. There's just so much competition, and I think for both of us, we kind of went into this process thinking that, oh wow, with the pandemic and mortgage rates being so low, this would be a great opportunity for us to buy, given that I think before this we were just kind of thinking about renting for a while until we were ready to kind of go through this process. And then I think quickly you kind of go through the process, you get excited about homes, you put in offers, and then the reality of the situation kind of hits you as far as being outbid, or just the bloodbath that kind of happens as far as you first going after a home against multiple buyers that are buying to win and not necessarily playing for value, right? And so I think just that process in terms of the highs and the lows was just really rough on us emotionally.
Yeah, but I think Danny and Han really took time trying to educate us about the market and set our expectations right, that also, gave us like a different perspective into the real estate market, and basically, help us really narrow down on the homes that we should be putting offers on, based on exactly what we're looking for and exactly how much we could afford.
Hans was just such a great help in terms of like setting up not only the house showings, especially like on a dime, like maybe even like 30 minutes or like in real time. If we found a home that afternoon that we wanted to see, Hans would hop onto like his hotspot and get on his laptop and just set it up like that, which is really awesome. But beyond that, I think just sort of the friendship that we even had with him just throughout this process, getting bobas all the time, it definitely helped the process as far as just like going through this sort of a normal cycle of looking at a ton of houses.
I think it makes buying a home a lot more fun.
It didn't have to be all like professional all the time. Like we just had like a good time.
Yeah.
Like literally just hanging out with Hans, getting boba on the weekend, honestly.
Spending every weekend with Hans, going see these homes, but yeah.
Yeah, kind of turned into our quarantine hobby. Like even when we got this house, we're like, Hans would leave such a void in our heart by not getting boba with him every weekend.
We've actually recommended SSV to another friend of ours before. And when we recommended Danny and Hans to them, the first thing we said was, these guys are our friends.
Yep.
You can definitely trust them, as we trusted them with our process.
The first thing out of our mouths wasn't necessarily like the accolade. I mean, their body of work kind of speaks for itself, honestly. I think we didn't necessarily need to focus on the accolades, but just for the fact that we truly, genuinely consider them as friends. They not only support us through the process as our agents, but also just on a more empathetic level. They could really empathize with us in terms of what we were going through as first-time home buyers. I mean, I think for both of us, we weren't necessarily the easiest clients. Like we really specifically wanted to focus on a home that was turnkey in San Mateo County and within our budget. That was just a really tough process to get a home that was to our liking, and certainly, again, sort of like the highs and lows of the home buying process, but they were great every step of the way. Like we said to our friends who we recommended selling Silicon Valley, the first thing we said was that you're in great hands. These are people that we trust as friends, foremost, and I think that's with any referral or any friends that kind of come our way that are looking to buy or sell in the Bay Area, we'll certainly say the same regards to them as well.
Selling Silicon Valley one boba at a time.